Hola! In today's video, I'm going to tell you about 5 things that I would have done differently building my house in Mérida, Mexico. Plus, at the end, one benefit that I feel like I did do correctly that I would do again building a house in Mérida, Mexico. Here's the list. Item number 5. I would have spent more time studying the electrical plan. I had fabulous architects, Arquilat, and I'll link that below. But I would have spent more time really understanding the electrical, the outlets, and all that. And when we went through the plan and the lighting plan, I thought of everything with the view of what is the guest going to need for the best guest experience. So, there's a outlet by each nightstand in the bedroom. There's lots of outlets in the living room and places for charging, but I missed a wall. This is an important wall, or at least it is now. It didn't seem like an important wall until I started figuring out where all my kitchen things were gonna go. So as you're facing the bifold doors that go to the swimming pool area, there's a little bit of a wall to the right. And I bought an antique piece of furniture to go there. And on top of that is going to be like the coffee maker station. And I don't have an outlet there. So to counteract that, I'm putting it on a tray, the whole system on a tray. And in the morning, a person can just pick up the tray, move it to the island, which has outlets, and make their coffee. And then they can move it back after that. I asked about fixing that outlet, in hindsight. And the contractor was like, we could, but we'd have to break up this concrete wall and all of that. So it's not as easy as a patch of drywall like things are in the United States. So I was a little bummed that I missed that outlet. I wasn't really critically thinking about having to have something there that needed electricity to function. But I did put it in the island, and inside the island, there's a shelf, and that's where the microwave goes, because I don't like a microwave that sits out on the counter. And there's an outlet built in for that. So I guess I got that. I shouldn't be as hard on myself, but I would spend a little bit more time understanding the electrical plan and the lighting plan, because there were a few things on that as well. Item number 4, I would have planned to be, oh boy, here's item number 4, man. I would have planned to be there for a longer period of time for furnishing it. I felt very rushed. I was told that the house would be ready in October of 23. It is June 2024 and the house isn't ready. So in October, I took time off of work. I flew down. I only had a couple of weeks, but in my mind, and what I thought was that I would come in and it would be ready, and all I would be doing would be setting up the furniture and whatnot. That wasn't the case. And what I discovered is that it's very hard to figure out where to buy everything in a 2-week period, because I just didn't know where to go for certain things. So I felt very rushed, and I ended up buying some things that I spent too much for. And that kind of balanced itself out, because there were a few things where I scored and I was able to do quite well and get good prices on those things. But I ended up buying things where later I was like, oh, I don't like that. Like I bought this coffee table on Facebook Marketplace, and my friend picked it up, and I took one look at it and I said, I hate it. And I gave it to a friend and she loves it. So there you go. Here's a tip on furnishing and like where to go for things. Thankfully, I discovered this early on. Hire a taxi driver for the day. So there's a particular taxi driver that I always work with when I'm down there, and my guests are, have come to know and love Pedro. But one day we were out just running an errand. I didn't hire him for the day, but I ended up having him for the day. We're running some errands, and I said, hey, Pedro, where can I get like some Talavera pottery without having to go to the really expensive place in Santa Lucia? And he's like, oh yeah, there's a roadside stand. Do you want to go? And I said, yeah, I want to go. And that's how I found several things. But other things are just harder to find. Like, it blows my mind that I can't find decent lamps. Of course, I'm a lamp lover. I love mid-century things. So I just couldn't find lamps. I found a lamp in an antique store that I absolutely love, and I brought it home. So I'm excited about that. And I did find somebody online, Facebook Marketplace again, that makes cool floor lamps that are like tripod style. And that was nice, but I was looking for something with some history to it and had a very hard time finding pairs of lamps that would flank the nightstands. I didn't want to do the kind that hang down from the ceiling. That's very popular right now. But I wanted to have flexibility with those rooms if anybody ever bought the house or whatnot and they wanted to use one room for an office or whatnot. So I decided not to go with the pendant fixtures, which are cool, but I decided not to go with those. Okay, next item. Item number 3, I would not have tried to build a custom chandelier. So when I was walking around Mérida one day, I found this cool little shop, stuck my head in. I was like, hey, what are you doing in here? And I got this inspiration to have a custom Henneken lamp created for me. And the lamp, or the fabricator came to the house with me and we drew it out. I gave him measurements and this and that. There was a mistake in communication. And I speak good Spanish, you guys. But we had a difference of opinion on what rounded corners meant. I wanted that very cylindrical with just like a tiny bit of rounding at the top. And instead I got like super round. And it came out looking like a beehive and or an upside down snowman. I hung it anyway, just temporarily so I could see it and thought, maybe it's just me. One of those things, man, I couldn't stand it. I had to take it down. And they were so kind and so generous at the shop. They stored it for me for a while. So I said, listen, you guys take this and resell it, or maybe take it apart and make it 3 lamps and resell it. And I don't even want any money for it because they really held on to it for me for a couple of months and they didn't have much space to do so. So I would not have tried to do something very custom without being physically present, because I tried to do all that from the US once I went back. So that was a bit of a mistake and it was a little costly. That's what I get for trying to crank things out in 2 weeks. And it took some of the joy away from it. Like I would have loved to have been in town to pop in and go, oh yeah, oh wait a minute, could you do this or that, or incorporate these chandelier drops that I bought for the bottom of it. And now I'm the proud owner of 20 Czech Republic vintage glass chandelier drops that I have no use for. Anyhow. Item number 2 that I wish I did differently building a house in Mérida, Mexico is that I would not have done an accent wall in the 2 bedrooms. I was doing Quimicolor, which is the plaster that's tinted. Wonderful product, by the way. And the color in reality didn't look like the color on the wall as much. In hindsight, of course, I went back and looked at it again. I went, oh yeah, I guess it does kind of have a greenish tint to it, almost like my shirt here. But it didn't go well with the floor tile that I had chosen and all of that. So instead of that color, I had to have them redo those 2 accent walls in a warmer color to kind of offset how much beige was going on in the room. But, in hindsight, again, something I would do differently if I were building a house in Mérida, Mexico, is I just wouldn't even do accent walls. There's enough beautiful artwork and textile available to decorate the walls. So just don't even need the accent walls. And the other thing I would have done differently in this genre is I would not have put a second sink on the rooftop deck. So on the roof deck of the house that I'm calling the Blue Cactus House, there is a half bath, because I don't know about you, but if I'm upstairs having drinks, entertaining or whatnot, I don't want to run all the way downstairs to go pee. It's just the way I'm built. So immediately I thought, well, the plumbing is right below. Let's stack the bathrooms and put a half bath up on top. Brilliant idea. And then being from the United States, I'm like, oh, gotta have a hand washing sink right there in the half bathroom. Well, silly me. You come out of the bathroom and there's the sink for the bar. Why do I have a sink and a sink? I don't need a sink and a sink, but I got them. So no washing your limes and your hands in the same sink, whatever. Item number one that I wish I would have done differently when building a house in Mérida, Mexico, is I wish I would have spent more time studying other people's designs. And when I mean designs, I mean the utilitarian things like pressurized water, electrical, internet related things, some design elements having to do with airflow. Like I recently saw somebody, I think it was on another video, I can't even remember, where the wall was smooth, but around the bottom, like the bottom 2 inches was all chipped out, and that exposed beautiful mamposteria rock was exposed, and that apparently helps ventilation, things like that. I'm not as good with the mechanical things, and so I tend to go just for design, function, what's the guest experience going to be like, without paying as much attention to those sorts of things. And my tastes have changed since I bought the first place in Mérida to now. You know, I really like to harken back to some of the vintage things and not the modern trendy things. So I think I would have also spent a little bit more time studying the older houses and original layouts and things like that. So I do wish I would have done that differently. So there you have it. Those are 5 things that I would have done differently when building my house in Mérida, Mexico. It certainly isn't all of them, but those are just 5 for today. I'll update you with more as we go since construction is not complete. But lastly, I want to leave you with this thought. Here's one thing that I think I did a pretty good job of, and kind of proud of myself on this. When I was working with the architect and we were reviewing the floor plan, I took a very hard critical look at the flow and how the different spaces are used, probably some of that calling on my real estate history here in the United States. But in looking at the floor plan, I found a couple of things that I changed. So originally, the only way to get to the bedroom, both bedrooms and the bathroom, was to go outside and then over to any one of those entrance doors. Well, it rains in Mérida, and it could also be cumbersome always having to go through those accordion style doors that are by the swimming pool. So I thought there's got to be a way to go into those spaces without having to go outside. Now, it's maybe not the prettiest way, but if it's raining out, it's going to work. That room there is very limited, and I was limited on what I could do with walls because of it being an ENA. So what I ended up having is, instead of the bathroom being accessed from the outside, it's accessed from the inside. So if you wanted to, you could go from the main living area into the bathroom, into the bedroom, into the breezeway, into the next bedroom, and avoid the rain if it's a downpour and you've got to get back to those areas. And then the second thing I found floor plan wise that I decided to add is that roof bar that's up on the upstairs deck, and I touched on this a little bit before. I had the idea to put a half bath up there because the plumbing is stacked. The other bathroom is right below it. So, you know I'm not the only one out there. Like if I'm up on the roof and I'm having a beverage, I don't want to run downstairs to go pee every time. I think I already said that, but I'm saying it again. So little things like that were a floor plan catch. There was also the opportunity for me to open up the entrance from the entry into the TV room to blow that out even more open, but I actually chose to have a little bit more wall space there so I could anchor some things in those corners. It's still a nice big opening, but there's a place for me to put like a little table, a vase, a place to hang coats in the entry and things like that. So always open isn't necessarily the best for anchoring furniture and placing artwork and things like that. So I'm very happy that I took the time to really sit down with my architects. They were great. And, scratch my head a little bit and say, how do we move through this space? What if it's rainy day? What if somebody's watching TV in here and you don't want, you want your private space? So that all worked out. The critical eye to the floor plan. I think I've got that one. Thank you for watching. If you'd like to stay in one of Amy's Casas, you can go to amyscasa.com, sign up for the newsletter. If you hit the book now button, you won't actually be booking just yet. It will send me an email directly. So that's how you can reach me, amyscasa.com. Thanks, everybody. un abrazo fuerte y un besito. Cuídate mucho.